tour. It all started with a letter. Not an email, not a text, but a handwritten letter with smudged ink and a faint scent of jasmine. It was addressed to the one I still think about. Emma found it in the old wooden box at her parents' attic when she came home for the holidays. Her fingers trembled as she turned the letter around, realizing the handwriting was familiar. It was Ethan's. Ethan, her first love, her almost forever. They had met during college. Two dreamers sitting on opposite sides of a philosophy class, arguing over what love truly meant. She believed it was patience. He said it was courage. What they didn't know was that both were right, and both would be tested in ways neither could imagine. Emma was a painter. Her world revolved around colors, emotions, and quiet mornings where she could lose herself in her art. Ethan was a writer, spontaneous, talkative, and driven by words that could make anyone believe in something bigger. They met at the campus art exhibit. Ethan was covering the event for the university magazine. He stopped in front of Emma's painting, a lonely figure walking through rain, and said softly, "That's what heartbreak feels like." Emma looked up, surprised. "How would you know?" "Because," Ethan smiled. "I've been that person before." Thoughts. That moment started something neither could name yet. Days turned into evenings spent in small coffee shops, sharing stories, sketches, and poems. They became inseparable, her paints mixing with his ink, their worlds blending beautifully. For 2 years, they were everything to each other. Emma's art bloomed with life. Ethan's writing became deeper, realer. Everyone could see they were in love. Until reality arrived. After graduation, Ethan received an offer to work for a major publishing house in New York. It was his dream, something he had worked for all his life. But Emma's art studio, her commission work, her students all were here, in their small coastal town. They tried to find a middle ground. But distance crept in like a shadow. Calls turned shorter. Messages less frequent. Ethan's deadlines piled up. Emma's shows demanded her attention. Slowly, their dreams started to pull them apart. One night, after another argument about not having time, Ethan said quietly, "Maybe love isn't enough right now." Emma didn't say anything. She just stood there, holding the small seashell he had once given her, and nodded. He left for New York the next day. Years passed. Ethan became a well-known author. His novels spoke of love, loss, and the haunting silence that follows goodbye. Emma saw his name often on magazines, interviews, even book covers. Sometimes, she'd pause before turning the page. She wasn't angry, just ... hollow. She too had found success. Her art exhibitions grew popular. Her paintings now hung in city galleries. People admired her for her vision, her emotional depth, but few knew where that emotion came from. Then, one morning, she received a letter. It wasn't from Ethan, it was from his sister, Lily. "Ethan's in the hospital. He's been asking about you. Please come if you can." Her world froze. She hadn't heard his name spoken aloud in years, yet her heart still reacted as if no time had passed. The hospital was quiet, sunlight filtering softly through pale curtains. Ethan was sitting by the window, thinner, his once lively eyes now dimmer but still gentle. When he saw her, a faint smile crossed his lips. "You came." Emma nodded, her throat tight. "You didn't tell me you were sick." "It's nothing dramatic," he chuckled weakly. "Just, my heart needed a little fixing. Guess it finally gave up waiting for you." Her tears broke free. "Don't say that, T." He looked at her, really looked, and for a moment, it felt like no time had passed. They talked for hours that day, about life, mistakes, success, and everything in between. He apologized for leaving without fighting harder. She apologized for letting pride silence her. Before she left, Ethan handed her a small box. "These are for you," he said. Inside were letters, dozens of them, written but never sent. Each one dated from a different year. "I saw your painting in the magazine today. You're amazing. I miss our quiet mornings. Do you ever think about us? I still believe love is courage." Emma's heart broke anew as she read them that night. Every word carried the ache of what they lost and the beauty of what had never truly died. Ethan recovered slowly, and Emma stayed longer than planned. She helped him walk in the garden, brought him coffee, and sometimes read him his own books. He laughed one evening, saying, "You know, you still mix too much cream in your coffee, and you still forget to put sugar." She smiled back. They began to rediscover each other, not as the young dreamers they once were, but as two souls who had lived, hurt, and grown. The silence between them was no longer heavy. It was comfortable. One day, Ethan took her hand. "I don't want to waste another day not loving you." Emma squeezed his hand gently. "Then don't." And they didn't. They started over, slowly, carefully. They talked through the old wounds, learned to communicate better, learned that love wasn't about holding on tightly, but growing side by side. Ethan moved back to their hometown. Emma helped him paint his new writing studio white. He helped her set up a new art space by the sea. They spent mornings walking by the shore, evenings watching the sunset. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. On their anniversary, a date they both now called their second beginning, Ethan gave Emma a canvas. On it, he had written just one line, "To the one I still think about, and always will." She smiled through tears, realizing those were the same words written on the letter she found months ago. Love, she thought, was never lost. It just waited for the right time to bloom again. 6 years later, their home by the sea became a place filled with laughter, art, and stories. People often asked them how they made it work after everything they'd been through. Emma would always say, "Because love doesn't end when life changes. It just finds a new way to exist." And Ethan would add, "We learned that love isn't about who stays, but who returns." Emma kept the letters in a small wooden box on her dresser. Sometimes, she would take one out, smile, and whisper, "We made it." Ethan's last note to her was written just a year before he passed away, peacefully in his sleep. It read, "If love ever has a face, it's yours. If it has a home, it's us." Emma framed that note above her painting desk. Every morning, as sunlight touched the words, she would smile softly, because she knew their love story never really ended. It simply became eternal. If you felt this story touch your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Heart Talk Stories, where every heartbeat tells a new story of love, loss, and life.